eliminate your tax debt. Call Legal Tax Defense right now for a free no-risk consultation. 800-292-7875. 800-292-7875. You have nothing to lose but everything to gain. 800-292-7875.
A wildfire crisis meeting led by the French president.
Emmanuel Macron and senior officials are focusing on the monster uncontrolled wildfires that have forced more than 250,000 people to flee their homes amid a first glimmer of hope that the spread of the largest blaze may have slowed. In the Gironde region of southwest France, where flames have burned an area 4 times the size of Paris, the prefecture said the situation overnight had remained globally stable, a change from successive days where the giant blaze raging since last week has edged closer to the wine region city of Bordeaux. I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Russian ballistic missiles struck Kiev over the weekend, igniting fires, wounding at least 3 civilians. Local officials reported attacks in other parts of Ukraine that killed at least 2 people. These strikes follow Ukraine's successful drone attacks, which have stalled Russian advances, put more pressure on Russian President Vladimir Putin. News and analysis, townhall.com. Want to join the Millionaires Club? New Global Wealth Report says the United States is the place to be, creating more millionaires last year than any other nation.
According to the UBS Global Wealth Report 2026, the U.S. added more than 441,000 new millionaires in 2025, nearly half of all newly created millionaires worldwide. United Kingdom was a distant second with 43,000, followed by France. The report highlights continued growth in American wealth creation despite ongoing economic challenges. Ken Lorman reporting.
Shares of Chinese memory chip maker CXMT soaring as the company started trading in Shanghai, mainland China's biggest IPO in recent years. CXMT was founded 10 years ago and raised at least $8.6 billion with this initial public offering. More on these stories at townhall.com.
It's the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, broadcasting live from downtown Nashville. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Good morning, and welcome to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. We are indeed broadcasting live from our studios in Nashville, Tennessee. It's time now for the Morning Rundown, which is brought to you every weekday at this time by our very good friends at the Glock Store, glockstore.com, located just a few miles from the airport, right here in Nashville, Tennessee. So here we go. Here is the Morning Rundown for Monday, July 27th, 2026. Number 1, well, the bombing in Iran temporarily stopped. There's kind of a quasi-stalemate. They're still negotiating. It drags on and on and on. We'll see where that goes. Number 2, we had a terrific exclusive interview with author Eric Metaxas. He wrote this terrific book, Revolution, the Birth of the Greatest Nation in the History of the World. It was published June 2nd. It is now on the New York Times bestseller list. In our next segment, we will give you that exclusive interview with Metaxas. Stick around because it's really great. Number 3, a big story here in Tennessee. As you know, the primaries will be held a week from Thursday. And the gubernatorial race for the GOP nomination has Senator Marsha Blackburn running against Congressman John Rose and State Rep Monty Fritz. We broke a story just about an hour ago. Our great reporter Tom Pappert. John Rose contributed to Democrats who supported a state income tax during the epic 1998 to 2002 battle over that. Now, the fact we do not have a state income tax, but we came within one vote of getting it. Most economists say our huge economic growth in the past 2.5 decades is largely attributable to the fact that we have no state income tax and never will. Tom Pappert will join us at the bottom of the hour to give you all the details. I mean, one of the guys that John Rose contributed to was the leader in the state Senate of the push, aggressively pushing for a state income tax, a fellow by the name of Bob Rochelle, who represented Lebanon in Wilson County. Number 4, Mark Pulliam will join us in hour 2. He's the author of the blog Misrule of Law, and there's more misrule going on. It's getting worse in blue states and among, the crazy Biden-Obama federal district court judges. So he'll be here hour 2. We'll fill up the entire hour with that. Number 5, this is important. Catherine Herridge looked at all the evidence that's been dropped by the intelligence, the director of national intelligence, and she says there's evidence China blackmailed Joe Biden. Well, duh. Yeah, he goes over there on Air Force 2 in 2013 and brings his drug-addicted son, Hunter Biden, along. What could possibly go wrong? Number 6, Anthony Fauci is going to be testifying under oath before the United States Senate this week. Senator Rand Paul, who's called Fauci a liar many times, is going to have him under oath. And if Fauci lies, he could face contempt of Congress charges, which means prison if convicted. We'll see. And number 7, there is a petition among New Yorkers to prevent the Muslim Marxist mayor of New York City, Zoran Mamdani, from attending the 25th anniversary remembrance of the 9/11 attacks that killed 3,000 Americans. So there you go. That's the morning rundown for Monday, July 27th, 2026, brought to you by our very good friends at the Glock Store. Now, I've been telling you about the big O-Site August events at the Glock Store for the last couple of weeks. Now, I told you that the O-Site VIP experience, that's a week from Friday, the 7th, was limited and would likely sell out. Well, guess what? It did sell out. But wait, there's more. You can, in fact, get a free hands-on experience in the latest in O-Site optics. Just make plans to attend the free O-Site Day on Saturday, August 8th, 1 week from this Saturday, at the one and only Glock Store. The free event will have hands-on range time, great O-Site giveaways, exclusive in-store discounts, free O-Site swag, gotta love the swag, and food trucks. The food trucks are great. The O-Site Fun starts Saturday, August 8th at 9 a.m., goes till 6 p.m. Make sure you save the date. That's a long time. That's O-Site Saturday, August 8th, and only at the Glock Store, minutes from the airport, worth the drive from anywhere in the United States of America. Okay, this is a bombshell. Catherine Herridge, she'd been with Fox News, I think, and then CBS, and then CBS didn't like her reporting, and they basically fired her. And anyways, she is a great reporter. And this is her analysis of documents just released that she says indicate that President Joe Biden and his family were subject to blackmail from the Chinese Communist Party. Let's play this clip right now.
What we saw in the release of the records, which I'm afraid, I think, in the media or legacy media, there was kind of a willful blindness. They didn't want to look at the records. All you had to do was spend a couple of hours. I found these records, which are talking about blackmail by China. It was for President Biden's daily brief. I can conclude, I think, that it was probably about targeting his family. When that kind of information is not reaching a decision maker, ultimately the United States and the American people are the losers.
Right.
And I think that's what people need to be focused on.
Well, it's dangerous as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're not getting into it.
Yeah, that's a big concern. Look, I was writing at Breitbart back in 2013, and you can recall that Joe Biden and his drug-addicted son, Hunter Biden, went over on Air Force 2 to Beijing. And so you saw, Hunter Biden walking off the plane with his father. And, at that time he was still a drug addict, still, was paying for hookers and taking images of himself. A lot of these images that came out were of him in a hotel room with a hooker and, cocaine and all that sort of stuff in China. You think the Chinese didn't have cameras in that hotel room? You think? Of course they did. Anyways, so then all these deals came out with the Chinese. Was that a coincidence? No. Was that a misuse of the power of the presidency? Yes, indeed it was. So it's no surprise to me that this is coming out. But, his father pardoned him for all these things. Who would have thunk that? All right, let's go now to New York City, where the Muslim Marxist mayor of New York City, Zohran Mamdani, has aggressively been promoting anti-Israel and anti-Semitic themes in a very dangerous way. Alan Dershowitz, the esteemed professor of law emeritus at Harvard Law School, who was born in New York City, has a few words to say about this.
I think he's legitimating hate, legitimating anti-Semitism. Says the city doesn't tolerate hate. He ought to look in. He is the greatest perpetrator of anti-Jewish hate in modern American history. He reminds me of some of the people, not Hitler, I wouldn't ever make an analogy, but some of the people in the Nazi Party in 1932 and 1933 when they were running for office, and when Jews didn't feel safe in the streets of Berlin or Hamburg. And many Jews don't feel safe today. My family lived on the York, where these two people were subject to a knife attack with somebody yelling Allah Akbar. And that's why we're going to start a campaign to show that New Yorkers really do support Jews and support Israel. When Benjamin Netanyahu comes to New York, we're planning to bring together 100,000 New Yorkers from every background: Italian Americans, Greek Americans, Irish Americans, Jewish Americans, Muslim Americans, to greet him in Central Park. 100,000 people to say, you're welcome in our New York. You may not be welcome in Gracie Mansion, in that place of bigotry.
So what's going to happen here is it's not going to end well, because the Muslim Marxist Mamdani is going to double down, and it's going to become increasingly dangerous. And there's, you're going to see some violence there, and it's not going to be pretty. But there you go. Okay, that's it for the morning rundown. When we come back, boy, we had such a terrific interview with Eric Metaxas in Franklin, Tennessee on Friday. And we have that highlight for you when we get back. I'm Michael Patrick Leahy.
Now more than ever, it's imperative to support companies that share our conservative values. That's why I can't be more excited to tell you that I've switched my family to Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. When you switch to Patriot Mobile, you shift your support away from the leftist, woke, progressive agendas of Big Mobile. Patriot Mobile's wireless service works perfectly and seamlessly as you go about your lives with exceptional nationwide coverage that uses the same towers the main carriers use. Patriot Mobile donates a portion of every dollar earned to causes you care about, to organizations that fight for religious freedom, First and Second Amendments, sanctity of life, and the needs of veterans and first responders. Patriot Mobile has plans to fit any budget, along with great discounts for our veterans and first responder heroes, as well as multi-line users. Switching is easy. Just go to patriotmobile.com/Godzilla or call their U.S.-based customer service team, 972-PATRIOT. That's 972-728-7468. Use offer code Godzilla for free activation.
If you owe back taxes, listen carefully to rule number 1. Never go up against the IRS alone. They're cracking down, freezing bank accounts, garnishing paychecks, canceling passports. Even your home or business could be at risk. But here's what they don't tell you. The IRS has powerful tax relief programs that could save you thousands if you qualify. That's why smart people call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. Nobody knows these programs like the experts at Optima. Their team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $2 billion in tax debt for people just like you. The IRS is not stopping, so don't wait, and don't take them on alone. For tax help you need, for tax help you can trust, call Optima today for a free consultation.
Call 800-780-3599. 800-780-3599. 800-780-3599.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
The Trump administration has brought positive changes when it comes to fixing our broken healthcare system. If we really want to make America healthy again, well, that starts at home. And that's where the Wellness Company comes in. You see and hear from the Wellness Company doctors all the time, and you know their products are the gold standard for keeping you and your family safe and healthy, giving you the opportunity to make sure you're prepared for whatever happens with their prescription medical kits. Additionally, the wellness company offers a variety of products, from parasite cleanses to methylene blue to weight loss and so much more. Make America healthy again starts at home. Do your part and protect the health of you and your family. Live a healthier, longer, and more satisfying life. Go to twc.health/Godzilla and order. That's twc.health/Godzilla. Use promo code Godzilla to save 10% today.
Congratulations to my friend Michael Patrick Leahy on 9 years of journalistic excellence. I'm Lenny McGill, owner and founder of the Glock Store here in Nashville, Tennessee, and a proud sponsor of Michael Patrick Leahy's Tennessee Star Network for over 5 years. When we started, he was on just one local station. Now, he's on 20 stations. His motto, find the truth and report it. And as long as he sticks to that, we'll stick to being a sponsor. And next year, Michael, let's have a party for you right here at the Glock Store.
I'm Brent Taylor, and I approve this message.
Brent Taylor has my complete and total endorsement. Those are the words of President Trump announcing his endorsement of Brent Taylor for Congress. President Trump can count on Brent Taylor to support the American First agenda, fighting inflation, cutting spending, deporting illegal immigrants, and protecting our conservative values. President Trump endorsed Brent Taylor for Congress. Now he needs your vote. Paid for by Brent Taylor for Tennessee.
This is State Senator Mark Pody. Government is limited to what it is supposed to do. One of the things that is critical that we're supposed to be working on is transportation. Here in Middle Tennessee, our roads need more help. As your state senator, we are focused on getting more money reoccurring without a new tax increase for our roads here in Tennessee. This is State Senator Mark Pody.
Paid for by Campaign for Mark Pody, Christina Hibden, Treasurer. 250 years ago, following an extraordinary victory that shook the globe, these newly forged Americans walked off the battlefield to create something unique in the world, a government that values individual liberty and justice, a system of laws built on limiting power and holding the mighty to account. They were young, they were bold, and together they wrote a document that changed everything. That document still stands, and 250 years later, the question remains, can we keep it? This October in Brentwood, Tennessee, students in grades 8 through 12 have a chance to answer that question and compete for a $10,000 Grand Champion Education Scholarship. More than $17,000 in education scholarships will be awarded in all. The 2026 National Constitution Bee, Saturday, October 24th, Spring Hill Suites, Marriott, Brentwood, Tennessee. Register now at nationalconstitutionbee.org. That's nationalconstitutionbee.org.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. We are heard all across the John Fredericks Media Network. That's 20 plus radio stations around the country. Plus, you can hear us on Roku TV, Apple TV, Rumble, YouTube. Where else are we? There's one, Firestick. Yeah. And in addition to that, you can hear us online. Just go to John Fredericks Media Network or newstalk760.com or michaelpatrickleahy.com. We're all over the place. Now, this is important. We have a programming note for this show and the John Fredericks Media Network. So on August 17th, which is, that's basically that's 3 weeks from today. Right. We are changing our time slot. The Michael Patrick Leahy Show, which is now 10 a.m. to noon Eastern Time. That's 9 a.m. to 11 Central Time. We are moving our time slot to 3 p.m. to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, all across the network, and here in Nashville on WENO, and now it will be on WAKM in Franklin, and that's 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Central Time. Now, in this time slot, Wendy Bell Live will be here starting 3 weeks from today on August 17th, 10 a.m. to noon Eastern Time, 9 a.m. to 11 Central Time. Of course, the great John Fredericks is on every morning from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Eastern Time. That's 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. Now, here's the rundown. In addition to that, you've got after Wendy Bell, From noon to 3 Eastern Time, you'll have the Rob Carson Show. 3 to 5 Eastern Time, the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. And then some interesting things will be going on from 5 to 6 Eastern Time here in the Tennessee market. Mike Keith, the voice of the Tennessee Volunteers, will have a program. And then network-wide from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. Eastern Time, Past the Wire, which is a new sports talk show. I think it's the former general manager of the Dallas Mavericks will be hosting that show. And then in the evening, you've got Larry Elder and Mark Levin. So very important for everybody to mark your calendars. You'll be able to listen to us on the afternoon drive, wherever you are. All right, let's go now to our big interview with the great Eric Metaxas. What a terrific writer he is. And despite the fact that he went to Yale, he is a strong Christian and a terrific writer. He wrote, of course, the biography of Wilberforce and the biography of Bonhoeffer, the hero of Christian faith during the Nazi regime, who was executed by the Nazis. His latest book, New York Times bestseller, Revolution, the Birth of the Greatest Nation in the History of the World. We interviewed him here at Landmark Booksellers Friday afternoon. Here is that clip.
You talked about the beginning of the revolution. John Adams, when he was, 25, 26, sat in a courtroom. I guess it was the Massachusetts General Assembly.
Yeah, no, he was even younger. He was like 22 at that point, 1761. So he was maybe, he was very young. And I'm sorry, you're right. He was probably 25. He was watching James Otis Jr. The book starts with that. Well, the reason is that years later, when Adams was being asked about this, because, I mean, imagine this all happens in the 1760s and 1770s, and he's there, and, years later, there's like, hey, what happened? So he tells the story, and he says it began in a courtroom in 1761. So this is before the end of the French Indian War, when the British were imposing these things called writs of assistance, which were really kind of onerous, intrusive. And the American colonists said, wait a minute.
So they were upset, the British, because Americans were smuggling a lot of goods.
Yeah.
And they wanted a writ of assistance in a court to go in and basically invade somebody's house.
They could basically come into your house. And so James Otis Jr. effectively says, we are British subjects and we have rights. And you cannot come into my house. It's my castle. Every British subject, we have these rights. These rights come from God, and no government has any right to, abrogate my rights. It's an amazing thing. So John Adams says it started there, this conflict.
The other thing I liked about the way you started this, you referenced the rebellion in Massachusetts in 1689.
Yeah.
Which I think was relevant because that was the time of the Glorious Revolution.
Yeah.
John Locke was writing about rights come from God, not from divine kings.
Right.
And it was sort of at that time that the colonists said, well, we have rights as British subjects.
Well, I mean, I think the colonists felt that even before 1689. In other words, to me, the very idea that some of them are coming over from England in 1620, many are coming over in 1630 and after that, they're already saying that our rights are being encroached upon in England. We got to get out of here. So we're going to go across, the vast ocean so that we can govern ourselves and be free. Basically, that's already happening. They already have a sense that their rights come from God, even before John Locke writes about it. They have a sense that because of the Reformation, because of what the Bible says, they are free. Their obligation is to be under God, not under some king. And that's really, it's a theological thing that, of course, like everything theological, it filters into everything else. How do I live? What is liberty? How much liberty do I have? Who has rights over me? How does that work? That comes out of the Reformation. And I don't write much about that in the book, but it seems clear that all of the men of the Revolution had that understanding, that this came via Puritan theology via the Reformation. It all, so it all points back to the Bible. And that is, it ends up being inescapable. As I was doing my research, I thought they all understood that. And even to the point where maybe they weren't explicit about it sometimes, because they thought, well, we all know this. That's the whole reason we're doing this.
Yeah, you talk about faith and virtue being prerequisites for a constitutional republic.
They all felt that. I mean, this is before there's any kind of a constitutional, before the Constitution, but I mean, they all believed that. So some of them wrote about it. Most of them wrote about it or spoke about it. But it's clear that was foundational, that they all knew that we can't govern ourselves unless we're under God.
Yeah, that's exactly the point. He's quite right about that. And the evidence is, in fact, overwhelming. He went on to say that even among the least religious of the founders, which would be Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin, they understood, shall we say, the biblical covenant between people and the rights, their rights coming from God, not from some, absolute monarch claiming the divine right of kings. It's a major separation. And these are themes that I talked about back in 2012 in my book, Covenant of Liberty, The Ideological Origins of the Tea Party Movement. And I am very pleased to see that this theme has been broadened and expanded by Eric Metaxas in his best-selling book, Revolution, The Birth of the Greatest Nation in the History of the World. When we come back, a blockbuster story by our own Tom Pappert. A candidate for governor here, John Rose, supported Democrats who favored a state income tax during the epic political battle here, 1998 to 2002. Back with Tom Pappert after this.
Now more than ever, it's imperative to support companies that share our conservative values. That's why I can't be more excited to tell you that I've switched my family to Patriot Mobile. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. When you switch to Patriot Mobile, you shift your support away from the leftist, woke, progressive agendas of Big Mobile. Patriot Mobile's wireless service works perfectly and seamlessly as you go about your lives with exceptional nationwide coverage that uses the same towers the main carriers use. Patriot Mobile donates a portion of every dollar earned to causes you care about, to organizations that fight for religious freedom, First and Second Amendments, sanctity of life, and the needs of veterans and first responders. Patriot Mobile has plans to fit any budget, along with great discounts for our veterans and first responder heroes, as well as multi-line users. Switching is easy. Just go to patriotmobile.com/Godzilla or call their U.S.-based customer service team, 972-PATRIOT. That's 972-728-7468. Use offer code Godzilla for free activation.
Ponder this. I was a member of a sailboat racing team. I should tell you that I never really developed sea legs, so my contributions to the team left a little to be desired. As I recall, on one racing day, the captain put me at the helm. He must have been desperate. During the race, a strong gust of wind came up suddenly. The boat heeled dramatically. I panicked and let go of the helm for fear of being tossed overboard and lost at sea forever. Thank the Lord for the keel, a heavy fin at the bottom of the boat that rights the boat during heavy winds. It remains unseen under the water, but it is a powerful stabilizer during the rough weather. You know, the Lord is like a keel in life. If we turn to Him, especially during turbulent times, He will always guide us to safety. He provides us with stability during rough times in our life if we reach out to Him and ask for help. Run to the Lord in prayer and trust that He will lead you to calmer waters. I'm Susie Kelly, and I am passionately Catholic.
Bad decisions limit future options. Make enough bad decisions and you will destroy your life. Listen to The Flatline with your host, Rick Hughes, every Sunday morning on the John Fredericks Radio Network. The Flatline describes a main line of resistance in your soul, built on God's Word. Join us every Sunday morning for 30 minutes of inspiration, motivation, and education, all without manipulation. That's The Flatline with Rick Hughes, heard here every Sunday at 8:30 a.m. on the John Fredericks Radio Network. Washington is wasting $500 million every year on a federal supervision system that doesn't work. Probation officers are overwhelmed. Resources are going to people who pose zero threat, while actual dangerous individuals slip through the cracks. The Safer Supervision Act stops the waste and refocuses every dollar on protecting families from harm. President Trump's own pollster found about 80% of Trump voters want this fixed. It's time for Congress to get this done. Stop the waste. Protect our communities. Visit safersupervision.com. Paid for by the Reform Action Fund.
Johnny Garrett's not some out-of-touch D.C. politician. Johnny Garrett's a Tennessean, a Christian conservative, and a proud father of three who's sick of the far left ruining our country with their radical policies. Conservative Johnny Garrett is proudly pro-life, pro-Trump to his core, and will always put America first. In Congress, Garrett will fight to lower taxes, cut government waste, and will always back the blue and support law and order. Garrett's fought for us in Nashville, and that's what he'll do in Congress. No to biological boys playing girl sports. No to communist China buying our farmland. And no to criminal illegals invading our state. Because with Johnny Garrett, what you see is what you get. It's time to bring more Tennessee to D.C. Send Trump conservative Johnny Garrett to Congress.
I'm Johnny Garrett, candidate for Congress, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Johnny Garrett for Congress.
Only one. There is only one conservative running for State House District 65, and that's Lee Reeves. Lee Reeves is the only one who has fought to protect the unborn and defend the sanctity of life. That's why Lee Reeves has the endorsement of Tennessee Right to Life. Lee Reeves is the only one who has fought to secure your Second Amendment rights, earning the endorsement and an A+ rating from the NRA. And Lee Reeves is the only one who has fought against illegal immigration, standing firm to secure our border and protect Tennessee families. Only one conservative has delivered for District 65, securing funding for Williamson County and the Mac Hatcher expansion. That's why Mayors Rogers Anderson and Ken Moore and State Senator Jack Johnson endorse Lee Reeves. There's only one conservative for State House, and that conservative is Lee Reeves. Paid for by Lee Reeves for State House, Bev Berger, Treasurer.
Hi, this is Williamson County State Senator Jack Johnson. I'd like to invite you to join me for my annual Boots and Jeans Barbecue and Beans. It's this Sunday, August 2nd at 4 o'clock, Liberty Hall at the Factory in Franklin. It's going to be a great night of barbecue, fellowship, and celebrating the conservative values that make Tennessee the best place to call home. I'm honored to be joined by an incredible lineup of conservative leaders, including Governor Bill Lee, Senator Marsha Blackburn, Congressman Tim Burchett, Knox County Mayor Glenn Jacobs, Lieutenant Governor Randy McNally, and Senator Brent Taylor. Whether you've attended before or this will be your first time, we'd love to have you join us. Bring your family, invite your friends, and come spend an afternoon with fellow conservatives from across Tennessee. Tickets are $50. Get yours today at johnsonfortennessee.com. That's johnsonfortennessee.com. I look forward to seeing you this Sunday at my annual Boots and Jeans Barbecue and Beans.
Paid for by Johnson for State Senate, Tommy Nelms, Treasurer.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
We are joined on our Zoom newsmaker line right now by the Dow Prize Award winner for the best local journalism in the country, Tom Pappert, an award he won along with yours truly, and Christina Botteri, our executive editor and chief technology officer. So, Tom, you have a blockbuster story. It's our lead at the Tennessee Star headline. John Rose donated to Democrats who supported a state income tax during the epic political battle between 1998 and 2002, where the Democrats tried to jam through a state income tax and they lost by one vote. But Rose also voted in Democrat primaries during that time frame, 2002 and 2004. But we got into the details of this, and the people, the Democrats he supported, well, it's a laundry list of pro-state income tax folks. Tell us about the story, Tom Pappert.
Yes, Michael, it was one heck of a project to research. I actually sort of discovered it after John Rose responded via a campaign ad to another ad put out by some pro-Blackburn folks dismissing the fact that he supported Democrats and voted in Democrat primaries. Well, he said that was all fake and didn't happen. So it turns out it did happen. From 1998 to about 2010, John Rose was regularly donating to Democrats. And in fact, in that critical period from about 98 to 2002, when Tennessee was debating very seriously whether to implement a statewide income tax for the first time in the state's history, by the way, well, during that period, John Rose was donating to candidates, to various Tennessee Democrats that were highly in favor of establishing a state income tax. For example, probably the most pertinent example is a former state lawmaker named Bob Rochelle. Bob Rochelle was one of the first lawmakers to create income tax legislation and submitted in the General Assembly. And it was during this period that, for some reason, John Rose decides he's going to make a small donation, admittedly, of $500. Well, 2 years after he donated that $500, Rochelle must have appreciated his friendship with John Rose, because it was that Democrat who did the resolution to honor John Rose for his achievements in the private sector through his business, the Transcender Corporation. But that's just one of the Democrats that received donations from John Rose during this period. There was also Matt Kisber, Bobby Sands, John White, Shelby Aaron Reinhardt. All of those names were intimately involved, or at least voted in favor of the proposal by former State House Speaker Jimmy Nafee that would have established a statewide income tax. But there are more Democrats that received donations from John Rose. That was state legislator Charlotte Burks. In addition to her, though, the caucuses, there's a state Senate caucus for the Democrats, a state House caucus for the Democrats. Well, those combined received a total of $9,000 from John Rose. He also donated to candidates at the federal level. Former Congressman Bart Gordon and Lincoln Davis both received donations from John Rose. And then there is, of course, Jerry Cooper, who ran for Congress all the way back in 1998 and received a donation from John Rose. Rose never donated to a state legislature races, but did donate to the congressional race.
So we had a deadline of 8 o'clock this morning. The Rose campaign had promised to respond prior to that deadline. They did respond, but about an hour afterwards. We contacted them on Thursday. And so this is what the campaign chairman, Chris Devaney, said. I'm going to read it and get your reaction to this. Came in. Their response is, well, let me just say what you said. They did not dispute the facts of the reporting. They didn't even address them. Here's what they said, which sounds like the classic non-answer diversion from a politician. Quote, "These are the same sorts of attacks that Governor Bill Lee endured in 2018. The bottom line is Marsha Blackburn and her campaign are desperate. Millions of dollars of her Senate funds are being funneled down from Washington to Tennessee to attack conservative John Rose and his momentum. It is just what you would expect from a 34-year career politician like Senator Blackburn." That's what they said. Did they deny any of your reporting, Tom, that they gave money to Bob Rochelle and that the state income tax proponent, the leading proponent, was the guy who put together a resolution in 2000 when this political battle, this epic battle, was in full form, honoring his friend, Congressman John Rose?
Well, no, Michael, no, they didn't really address our reporting at all. They didn't address any of our questions, but instead, as you said, suggested these are political attacks. Well, it's not a political attack to look at somebody's record and note their previous political donations and then ask them about it. I listened to another radio show this morning, and they mentioned that maybe it's like Trump when he lived in New York City and was donating to Democrats because he needed to have friends in both political parties. Well, if that was the case, why didn't John Rose tell us that? Instead, he called this a political attack. It's not an attack to the campaign chairman of Mr. Rose's campaign. It's your candidate's record. And if you don't like that record, I'm sorry, but you should tell us what it means for the voters.
You know, and I've known John Rose for a long time. This answer does not surprise me. It's a non-answer. He did not address the question. Now, what's an honest way to address it? Well, everybody knows, and the facts are indisputable, that he donated to these pro-state income tax Democrat state legislators during the critical period, 1998 to 2002, when the state income tax was in play. Now, it was defeated then by one vote. The person who led the opposition to it was none other than Senator Marsha Blackburn, who at that time was a member of the state Senate. It failed to pass by one vote. One vote. John Rose was on the other side. And why is this significant today? Well, Tom, it seems to me that if you talk to economists and they say, you ask them the question, why has the economy of the state of Tennessee grown so much in the past 2.5 decades? Why are so many people moving from high tax states like California and Washington and Illinois and Connecticut to Tennessee? Tom, what kind of answer do you get from economists when you ask that question?
Well, a whole lot of them will point to the fact that Tennessee does not have an income tax, and since 2014, the state's constitution has prohibited an income tax from being established.
The other thing about this is and people know that who are new to Tennessee may not know this, but Don Sundquist was the governor, elected in 94, and ran for re-election in 98 against a kind of a classic character, John J. Hooker, a Democrat, and he won easily. But on the campaign trail in 1998, it was well known that the Democrat state legislators, like Bob Rochelle, who got in 1998 that donation from John Rose, it was well known that they wanted a state income tax, and they were pressuring behind the scenes for it. John Rose would have known that when he gave the $500 to Bob Rochelle, but Don Sundquist on the campaign trail, 98, said, I will never support a state income tax. And yet, just a few months later, in early 99, he came out in favor of a state income tax. And it was a drawn-out 4-year battle that ended in 2002 with that one-vote victory led by Senator Marsha Blackburn when she was a state senator. But guess what John Rose did? He accepted a position in 2002 in the administration of the rhino promise breaker, Don Sundquist. What does that tell you?
Well, I think that tells you, to some degree at least, they were politically aligned. And Michael, not only did he accept that position, but I believe it was about 6 weeks after the income tax proposal had totally failed. There was no more opportunity to put a modified proposal in and have another vote. It was about 6 weeks after that, if I remember correctly, that John Rose accepted that position to join the administration.
Yeah, right after that. And of course, Sal, He says today, I was not in favor of a state income tax, but that's not true at all. He's financially supported the leading proponents on the Democrat side who are trying to jam through this awful, terrible, rotten, no good state income tax on the state of Tennessee. But Tom, wait, there's more. Not only did John Rose contribute to pro-state income tax Democrats, he voted in that time period in Democrat primaries. Stick around and tell us the details of that. Tom Pappert, back after this.
In 2008, the amount of concentrated time people could spend on a task without becoming distracted was 12 seconds. 5 years later, it was only 8 seconds, 1 second less than a goldfish. If you're often distracted or have trouble recalling information, you're likely to fall behind in the demanding, fast-paced 21st century. In other words, brain performance is more critical now than ever. Boost your brain power with Healthy Cell's Focus Plus Recall. Science-backed nootropics to help you sharpen focus, concentrate longer, enhance recall, improve mental speed, learn rapidly, and be more alert. It's a pill-free brain supplement made with maximum absorption ingestible gel technology, designed to feed your brain at the cellular level. Take it for a test drive. Go to healthycell.com and use code GODZILLA for 20% off your first order of Focus Plus Recall. That's healthycell.com, code GODZILLA for 20% off.
Everybody's talking about weight loss injections because the results are so dramatic. They work by lowering blood sugar and reducing appetite. So, what if you're looking to lose weight but not interested in painful weekly injections, especially when you hear about some of those intense side effects? That's why doctors created a weight loss supplement called Lean, and the results are remarkable. The ingredients studied in Lean have been shown to lower your blood sugar, burn fat by converting it into energy, and curb your appetite and cravings, so you're not as hungry. But listen, Lean is not for the casual dieter with only a few pounds to lose. The doctors at Brickhouse Nutrition created Lean for frustrated dieters with 10 or more pounds to lose. Get started with 20% off and free rush shipping so you can add Lean to your healthy diet and exercise plan. Go to takelean.com and enter the code Godzilla for your discount. That's discount code Godzilla at takelean.com.
Ponder this. How many times have you heard that freedom means doing whatever you want as long as we don't hurt anyone else? On its face, this sounds pretty reasonable. But when you think about it, everything you do has an impact on someone or something. Let's say we overindulge in drinking. The immediate impact may be that we cannot get to work on time the next morning or even at all. Let's say we eat whatever we want, whenever we want. When health problems ensue later in life, your family, your friends, and your community may be impacted. For every action, there is a reaction, and this is Newton's law of physics. But it applies to our spiritual life as well. Being truly free means doing God's will in every decision that we make. This means we must know God's will by following His commandments and talking with Him in our daily life. Pray, trust, and persevere in following God's will for you every day. I'm Susie Kelly, and I am passionately Catholic.
Congratulations to my friend Michael Patrick Leahy on 9 years of journalistic excellence. I'm Lenny McGill, owner and founder of the Glock Store here in Nashville, Tennessee, and a proud sponsor of Michael Patrick Leahy's Tennessee Star Network for over 5 years. When we started, he was on just one local station. Now, he's on 20 stations. His motto, find the truth and report it. And as long as he sticks to that, we'll stick to being a sponsor. And next year, Michael, let's have a party for you right here at the Glock Store.
I'm Brent Taylor, and I approve this message.
Brent Taylor has my complete and total endorsement. Those are the words of President Trump announcing his endorsement of Brent Taylor for Congress. President Trump can count on Brent Taylor to support the American First agenda, fighting inflation, cutting spending, deporting illegal immigrants, and protecting our conservative values. President Trump endorsed Brent Taylor for Congress. Now he needs your vote. Paid for by Brent Taylor for Tennessee.
I'm Scott Desjardins, and I approve this message.
We will make America great again.
President Donald Trump has given his complete and total endorsement to Congressman Scott Desjardins, saying he fights for our military, veterans, law enforcement, and the Second Amendment.
I'm honored to be endorsed by President Trump. I know together we've got to control inflation, secure our borders, and strengthen our military.
Scott Desjardins, representing the people of the 4th Congressional District.
With your support, we will make America great again. Paid for by friends of Scott Desjardins.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
And welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Our guest, our lead political reporter at the Tennessee Star, Tom Pappert. Okay, so we covered in our earlier segment all of the donations that Congressman John Rose, who's running for governor on the GOP side against Marsha Blackburn, and Monty Fritz, who's the state rep. We covered that they made donations to the state legislators who wanted to, in this 1998-2002 period, wanted to impose a state income tax. He was friendly with them. He gave them money. Bob Rochelle, the leading guy, Bob Rochelle gave him supported a resolution honoring John Rose in the state Senate. Marsha Blackburn led the charge to stop a state income tax, which won. That stopped by one vote. But during this period, 2002, 2004, John Rose voted in Democrat primaries. Is that true? Is that true? I can't believe it.
That is what we've reviewed from election records from the state of Tennessee. He voted actually in a total of 3 Democratic primaries. And for our listeners who may not be in Tennessee, elsewhere in the John Fredericks Media Network, Tennessee still has open primaries. So you show up and then you ask for either a Democratic Party or Republican Party ballot. You can vote in either, but not both. And in 3 elections, 2002 and 2 in 2004, John Rose decided that he wanted to vote in the Democratic primary. In 2002, it was just a county primary, so that was relatively low profile in the state of Tennessee. But in 2004, he decided to vote in the Democratic primary, the presidential preference primary for president in 2004.
Whoa.
When President...
2004, we had an incumbent Republican as president, right?
Right.
He had served in the Rhino administration of the pro-state income tax turncoat, Don Sundquist. And in 2004, he chose not to vote in the Republican primary, where I think George W. Bush had some opposition, but not a lot. But he wanted to vote. He wanted to share his vote with either. Tell our listeners who were the Democrat candidates for president in 2004.
Now, just for a little bit of context, this was 22 days after Howard Dean did his famous Dean Scream that essentially eliminated him from the contest, but he was still in the race. So you had John Kerry, Howard Dean, John Edwards, Dennis Kucinich, and of course the race would be incomplete without the venerable Al Sharpton. So those were the candidates that John Rose was choosing between. We don't know who he voted for. We just know that he voted in that race.
You know, what we also don't know is, he's never said anything. You know, when you vote in the November general election, right, you don't declare your party. You just go ahead and vote. You declare your party for the primaries in Tennessee. We don't have party registration. I think it would be important to ask the Rose campaign which Democrat they voted for in the 2004 presidential primary in Tennessee, number one. And then number two, did they vote for John Kerry, the Democrat in 2004, or George W. Bush, the Republican? I think those are fair questions to ask, don't you?
Well, I do think it's fair because somebody who votes for John Kerry in 2004, I mean, obviously we didn't know how his career would go on to develop, but it wasn't that much longer until Kerry was like in charge of negotiating Iran and giving away the farm in the process. So a vote for a character of that ill repute, I think, would be very interesting to the Republican voters of Tennessee.
So we're going to ask him, who he voted for. We'll get a non-answer. This, by the way, this is what we call a tell. When there are facts that you report, as you reported on the donations and the voting primary, and the answer you get back from the candidate is to say, well, this is just an attack, and they don't address the underlying facts and they don't dispute the facts, it's a tell for what that person will do if and when they become elected to the office they're seeking. Your thoughts on that, Tom Pappert?
Well, Michael, in the last segment, you mentioned that the only reason an income tax became a real fight, a 4-year fight in the state of Tennessee, was because a rhino governor got in promising to do one thing and then did the other. Now, fortunately, Tennesseans, they don't have to worry as much about an income tax thanks to the constitutional amendment. But what else is there that perhaps John Rose could be saying one thing and doing another if he wins, if this is his record? And he's not explaining himself. They had from Thursday at about 1:15 in the afternoon until Monday at 8 a.m. to tell us, how come you donated $19,000 to Democrats? How come you voted in not one, not two, but 3 Democratic primary elections? What do you actually think of a state income tax? What were your thoughts back in 1998 to 2002? And instead, they called it a political attack. if I were our readers and our audience, I might feel a little insulted.
Yeah, exactly. Terrific reporting, Tom. So tomorrow, come on the show and tell us if the John Rose will tell us which Democrat presidential candidate he voted for in that 2004 primary here in the state of Tennessee. I'm guessing when the phone doesn't ring, we'll know it's John Rose on the other end. Tom Patrick, thanks so much for that fantastic report.
Always a pleasure. We'll see you tomorrow.
Up next, the one, the only, the best legal analyst in the United States of America, Mark Pulliam, Misrule of Law. Back after this.
In 2008, the amount of concentrated time people could spend on a task without becoming distracted was 12 seconds. 5 years later, it was only 8 seconds, 1 second less than a goldfish. If you're often distracted or have trouble recalling information, you're likely to fall behind in the demanding, fast-paced 21st century. In other words, brain performance is more critical now than ever. Boost your brain power with Healthy Cells Focus Plus Recall. Science-backed nootropics to help you sharpen focus, concentrate longer, enhance recall, improve mental speed, learn rapidly, and be more alert. It's a pill-free brain supplement made with maximum absorption ingestible gel technology, designed to feed your brain at the cellular level. Take it for a test drive. Go to healthycell.com and use code GODZILLA for 20% off your first order of Focus Plus Recall. That's healthycell.com, code GODZILLA for 20% off.
What happens in Virginia doesn't stay in Virginia. It influences policy and policymakers nationwide. The VirginiaStar.com shines a light on the issues in VA that become issues for the USA, with insightful commentary that gets to the fact of the matter. The VirginiaStar.com is your source of wisdom and truth, locally, statewide, and nationally. Log on today and every day. The VirginiaStar.com. The VirginiaStar.com.
John Fredericks loves his radio and TV audience, but did you know how to follow the Godzilla of Truth wherever you go? Download the John Fredericks Radio Show app to listen live nationwide. For the daily chit-chat, Trucking the Truth, download the Getter app and join the morning fun on Getter Live from 6 to 10 a.m. Follow John Fredericks on Getter, Truth Social, or Twitter at JF Radio Show.
WJFN, Goochland, Bonaire, Chester, 100.5, 107.7, 92.7 FM, AM 820, and WJFB, Portsmouth, AM 16.
Breaking news this hour from Town Hall. I'm Rich Thomason. Seattle police say the two gunmen who opened fire last evening at a popular food festival near the Space Needle were shooting at each other. Assistant Police Chief Tyrone Davis says a call of shots fired came in just after 6 p.m.
Officers responded and addressed one of the shooters. That person gave up and was taken into custody. There was another person that we believe that was also involved that fled the scene, and officers began an active search for that person.
And that search goes on. The shooting left 3 people dead, a 2-year-old boy among 4 others who were injured. The suspect in the deadly Berlin Pride attack that killed 1 person, injured 29, was shot dead by German police during a confrontation in a Berlin suburb. Authorities identify the gunman as Abdul Balut, German citizen with Lebanese roots. Prosecutors say that he had previously tried to get involved with ISIS. America will soon observe the 25th anniversary of the 9/11 terror attacks, and some of those who lost loved ones on that terrible day do not want New York City's mayor to attend Ground Zero ceremony.
It's an emotional time for the families of the innocent people killed by radical Islamic terrorists on September 11th of 2001. Some are very busy gathering signatures for a petition as they do not want New York City Mayor Zoran Mamdani to attend the annual ceremony where the names of all the victims are read out loud at Ground Zero. They're concerned about the mayor's associations with people who have minimized what happened and have even suggested America deserved the attacks. The group posting specific examples on the website change.org.
And that's correspondent Laura Winters. On Wall Street, the Dow 267 points higher. The Nasdaq is down 15 points. The S&P up 9. More on these stories, townhall.com.
Are you tired of feeling lousy? Maybe you had a scare at your last checkup or just walking hurts? When enough is enough, call PhD Weight Loss. When I had enough 4 years and 53 pounds ago, I knew I couldn't do it alone. I'm Mike Gallagher for PhD Weight Loss. Best phone call I ever made. They were right with me. They still are today. Right now, mention Mike. You'll get 2 free weeks added to the program, and they'll pay for the cost of your food. $1,500 value. Call 864-644-1900, 864-644-1900, or visit myphdweightloss.com.
So Karen and Michael Collins were in their 20s. They were newly married, and Michael found out he had cancer, stage 4. They're members of MediShare, and MediShare came through for them, not just financially.
But they called and they said, hey, we know you're going through treatment. We just wanted to call and pray for you. And it rocked my world.
MediShare was a blessing to us because they just made it so easy.
Call now. You'll see why so many Christians have made the switch to MediShare. Here's the number, 833-34-BIBLE. That's 833-34-BIBLE.
French President Macron has called a crisis meeting to address uncontrolled wildfires, forcing more than 250,000 people to flee their homes. In a region in southwest France, flames have burned an area that's 4 times the size of Paris. Officials say the situation remained globally stable overnight. That's a change from previous days, and no new evacuations have been announced. With France entering its peak tourist season, local authorities have banned holiday camps for youngsters and people with disabilities. Ukrainian President Zelensky set to meet with British Prime Minister Andy Burnham at a naval base in England. Burnham says the visit is designed to underline unwavering British support for Ukraine. Zelensky's trip is the first by a foreign leader since Burnham took office 1 week ago. He will be the 5th British Prime Minister the Ukrainian president has dealt with since Russia's invasion of Ukraine in 2022. Townhall.com. Estrangement within families caused by political differences has been a growing, troubling phenomenon in recent years. A closer look at what may help fuel that divide.
A Wall Street Journal investigation says self-care advice is replacing reconciliation efforts, and critics argue the trend is spreading faster than the evidence, especially online. Here's what's at stake. About 25% of Americans say they're estranged from a close relative, and surveys suggest a third of estranged parents blame their adult child's therapist. While cutting contact may bring short-term relief, research links it to higher rates of chronic depression, an outcome experts call tragic, not typical. Ron Taylor reporting.
Federal appeals court has upheld a judge's ruling that halted President Trump's attempts to create a federal voter list and limit who can receive a mail-in ballot. More on these stories at townhall.com.
It's the Michael Patrick Leahy Show, broadcasting live from downtown Nashville. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
We welcome to our microphones the best legal analyst in the entire United States of America, our good friend Mark Pulliam, who writes at the blog Misrule of Law. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you, Michael. And I have something for you. I picked it up at the book fair this weekend, William Rehnquist's book on the Supreme Court.
What a great gift. And it's the history of the Supreme Court, right?
Yes.
It's terrific. You know why this is so important? You didn't know this, but we do, I've written, in essence, a textbook for secondary school students called The Guide to the Constitution and Bill of Rights for Secondary School Students. It's been out there for 5 or 6 years. On our agenda is to write 3 more textbooks. One on the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendments, another on the rest of the amendments, and we're going to do one book on the 9 most significant Supreme Court justices in the history of the Supreme Court.
And William Rehnquist is one of them.
I think you're right.
No.
I think you're right. Well, thank you so much for it. Okay, so let's talk about your research. By the way, I have to say, the most well-researched guest in the history of the program is Mark Pulliam. Yeah. And I will say, you practice at big law. You were a partner with one of these big law firms, and you practiced for a long time and just retired about, 10 years ago?
15.
15, okay, and happily retired.
Yeah.
But now you're on top of things, and because you're retired, you're able to throw a punch that lands. Many of these legal analysts who are currently practicing are afraid of the lefties at the American Bar Association, and their punches don't land.
Well, they're afraid of a lot of things, but that is one of them. And one of the great things about retired is I can say what I want, when I want, how I want. So this first topic that we have this morning is, as the Supreme Court wrapped up its term last month, it already seems more than that, but they issued this blockbuster decision, Trump v. Barbara, which I think Chief Justice John Roberts hoped would throw water on this whole notion of getting rid of or trimming the sails of birthright citizenship.
And by the way, and we talked about the case Trump v. Barbara, one of the worst cases, depending who you talk to, clearly since Roe v. Wade. I say the worst case since Plessy v. Ferguson, that established separate but equal in the 1890s. Badly decided, 5-4, very close on the key constitutional issue. You've got more for us on Trump v. Barbara.
Well, so I think John Roberts was hoping that this would end the debate over this topic, but as Jonathan Adler, who now teaches at William and Mary, wrote at the time, that instead of settling the debate, it may have instead kindled a new one. And already that new debate has taken off in one direction. So last week, legislation was introduced in the Senate and the House. The Senate sponsor was Jim Banks of Indiana, and in the House was Representative Brandon Gill from Texas. And
he's the guy with the Superman curl.
Yeah.
Who is perhaps the greatest inquisition technique I've ever seen.
Yeah, for a non-lawyer.
He's very good.
He's very good. And he looks like Superman and stands for truth, justice, and the American way, just like Superman.
Boom, you stole my line.
Yeah.
But it's a good line. It's the proper line for Brandon Gill.
Yeah. So a lot of people were scratching their heads saying, how can we get around this terrible decision which tried very hard to take the issue of birthright citizenship out of the hands of the executive and even out of the hands of Congress? Well, Jim Banks and Brandon Gill are pretty smart, and they studied the issue, and what they saw is that all John Roberts' decision in Trump v. Barbara did was basically take this concept of jus soli, birth of the soil. If you're born here, you're a citizen automatically.
And that, by the way, that was a concept that came from England jurist Sir Edward Coke back in 1610.
Yes, but that is the concept that was embodied in this ancient precedent Wong Kim Ark from 1898, and so he kind of washed his hands and said, okay, it's settled for all time. Now let's go on to other topics. Well, what he forgot was that Wong Kim Ark, by restating this British common law principle of jus soli, it's not an absolute doctrine. You are a citizen if you're born in the United States, except, and there are several exceptions, and one of the exceptions were for children born of alien enemies in hostile occupation. And Brett Kavanaugh, who wrote a concurring opinion that was really a dissent, he framed that in terms of enemies born of enemies within or during a hostile occupation a part of our territory. And so what this proposed legislation, which they call the Citizenship Act, what it does is to declare that the tens of millions of illegal aliens who have poured across our borders in violation of federal law are in fact an occupying force. They're hostile to our republic. Mm-hmm. They're acting in defiance of our laws, and that therefore they are invaders in the sense of what Wong Kim Ark said was an exception to birthright citizenship.
That is so timely. Look at the Somali gangs in Minnesota. That's a clear example thereof.
And the great thing about this argument is that Wong Kim Ark unquestionably has an exception for children born of an occupying force. And people would say, well, wait a minute, that doesn't mean a bunch of civilians. Well, in fact, In Ex Parte Quirin, a 1942 case happened right at the beginning of World War II, a group of Nazi saboteurs landed on our shores dressed in civilian clothing. One of them was even an American citizen, and the administration, the Roosevelt administration, took the position that these people were enemy combatants and tried them in a military tribunal rather than through our civil, our civilian system. And what makes it even better is that if this question of is somebody a occupying force, a combatant, is under Supreme Court case law considered to be a political question, which is outside the purview of judicial review. And it's this doctrine is so strong of political question. Even Jim Ho, who was, I'd say, right alongside John Eastman as one of the most well-known conservative legal theorists in the pre-MAGA era, he was also a very strong proponent of birthright citizenship. His parents came here from, I think, Taiwan, and he's very sensitive about the discrimination that Chinese have historically faced in the United States. He has now come around in his position and saying, well, birthright citizenship, in the abstract is one thing, but when you have an invasion by an occupying force, that's different. And he says, I agree that this massive illegal immigration that we've experienced, particularly under Biden, now qualifies as an occupying force. That's what Governor Abbott's attitude is in Texas. And so Jim Ho has written decisions now that he's on the Fifth Circuit saying, yes, I agree with Greg Abbott that this is an occupying force, and also that it's a political question that courts don't have any authorization to second guess.
This is a very exciting development because you can see the path.
Yeah.
You can see the path, even with John Roberts and Amy Coney Barrett making a mistake in Trump v. Barber. This, by the way, folks, is why we pay the best legal analyst in the country, Mark Pulliam, the big bucks, to bring it home. More with Mark Pulliam when we get back.
Hey folks, Al Green here for SatPhone. When you're on the go, you want to know you're connected. If it's a family vacation or an off-the-grid escape to a remote destination, having reliable communication helps you feel safe and secure. You can't afford to find yourself in a dead zone. That's why you need SatPhone. SatPhones are reliable, durable, and give you global coverage. If you can get outside, you can get in touch. It's that simple. Make calls from your SatPhone to any regular cell phone in the United States. The phones are a $1,500 value, but you can get yours free. Just sign up for a 15-month plan, $94.95 a month. Get 150 minutes monthly that roll to the next month. Go 3 months without using them, that's fine. Yes, 3 months, 450 minutes, all yours. Visit SAT123.com or call 855-980-5830. SAT123.com, 855-980-5830. Get surety and security with your SatPhone. Call now.
Washington is wasting $500 million every year on a federal supervision system that doesn't work. Probation officers are overwhelmed. Resources are going to people who pose zero threat, while actual dangerous individuals slip through the cracks. The Safer Supervision Act stops the waste and refocuses every dollar on protecting families from harm. President Trump's own pollster found about 80% of Trump voters want this fixed. It's time for Congress to get this done. Stop the waste. Protect our communities. Visit safersupervision.com. Paid for by the Reform Action Fund.
The President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Marsha Blackburn is an incredible person.
She's a fighter, a true fighter. For the people of Tennessee, she loves your state.
Trump trusted Tennessee first. Marsha Blackburn will deport illegal immigrants from Tennessee in record numbers and ban China from buying up 1 inch of Tennessee land.
Marcia Blackburn, a very, very early supporter of ours, a really wonderful woman.
A rock-solid conservative who will fight the woke agenda, deliver results, and never, ever back down.
They're lucky to get you because you are a talent and a great person, and you've been with me all the way, and I appreciate it.
Tennessee's one and only Marcia Blackburn for governor.
She's a fighter, a true fighter. For the people of Tennessee, she loves your state.
Paid for and authorized by Marcia for Governor, Treasurer Glenn Jacobs.
And they're off. This summer, the Thunder returns to Colonial Downs Racetrack. Live thoroughbred racing June 25th through September 7th. Feel the excitement. Hear the roar of the crowd. Experience Virginia's premier horse racing destination every Thursday through Sunday all summer long. Bring the whole family for Family Fun Sundays, packed with activities for all ages. Parking? Free. General admission? Free. Memories? Priceless. Make Colonial Downs Racetrack your new summer fun time tradition. Get tickets and race day info now at colonialdowns.com.
Congratulations to my friend Michael Patrick Leahy on 9 years of journalistic excellence. I'm Lenny McGill, owner and founder of the Glock Store here in Nashville, Tennessee, and a proud sponsor of Michael Patrick Leahy's Tennessee Star Network for over 5 years. When we started, he was on just one local station. Now, he's on 20 stations. His motto, find the truth and report it. And as long as he sticks to that, we'll stick to being a sponsor. And next year, Michael, let's have a party for you right here at the Glock Store.
I'm Scott Desjardins, and I approve this message.
We will make America great again.
President Donald Trump has given his complete and total endorsement to Congressman Scott Desjardins, saying he fights for our military, veterans, law enforcement, and the Second Amendment.
I'm honored to be endorsed by President Trump. I know together we've got to control inflation, secure our borders, and strengthen our military.
Scott Desjardins, representing the people of the 4th Congressional District.
With your support, we will make America great again. Paid for by friends of Scott Desjardins.
This is State Senator Mark Pody. Government is limited to what it is supposed to do. One of the things that is critical that we're supposed to be working on is transportation. Here in Middle Tennessee, our roads need more help. As your state senator, we are focused on getting more money reoccurring without a new tax increase for our roads here in Tennessee. This is State Senator Mark Pody.
Paid for by Campaign for Mark Pody, Christina Hibden, Treasurer.
Johnny Garrett's not some out-of-touch D.C. politician. Johnny Garrett's a Tennessean, a Christian conservative, and a proud father of 3 who's sick of the far left ruining our country with their radical policies. Conservative Johnny Garrett is proudly pro-life, pro-Trump to his core, and will always put America first. In Congress, Garrett will fight to lower taxes, cut government waste, and will always back the blue and support law and order. Garrett's fought for us in Nashville, and that's what he'll do in Congress. No to biological boys playing girl sports. No to communist China buying our farmland. And no to criminal illegals invading our state. Because with Johnny Garrett, what you see is what you get. It's time to bring more Tennessee to D.C. Send Trump conservative Johnny Garrett to Congress.
I'm Johnny Garrett, candidate for Congress, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Johnny Garrett for Congress.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
You know, when you come in, Mark, the leading legal analyst in the country, I feel like we're in a heavyweight championship bout watching it because, you know, no punches are pulled. And that story on birthright citizenship and this new law is fantastic. You got another story here. Tennessee's redistricting upheld by federal court. Tell us about that.
Well, as reported by the Tennessee Star last week, a 3-judge panel of federal judges upheld, and they didn't uphold it on the merits. This was still in the preliminary injunction phase. But they declined to enjoin the redrawn congressional map that will likely produce an all-Republican 9-member congressional delegation in Tennessee. And so our General Assembly did a good job drawing this thing, and it has withstood these legal challenges from all the traditional leftist litigating organizations that try to promote democratic policies whenever they can. And this is a terrific development, not an unexpected development. And we should keep in mind this is only possible because of the Supreme Court's decision late in the term written by Justice Alito in Louisiana versus Calais, which ended decades of incorrect interpretation of the Voting Rights Act and basically said we're no longer going to countenance racial gerrymandering, that we should recognize that pretty much all gerrymandering that's done in the United States, and it's done everywhere in Democrat states and Republican-controlled states, and traditionally partisan gerrymandering is not subject to any constitutional objection. It's considered to be part of the political game. And so the fact that black voters also are Democratic voters doesn't make it partisan gerrymandering unconstitutional. In fact, making special allowances for black voters, that amounts to racial gerrymandering, which violates the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. So this is a huge development in election law, but it's not, the end of the game. More is needed. And so this racially jerry-rigged districts, the affirmative action for majority minority districts, that was one of the tools in the Democrats' toolbox that allowed them to gain the amount of political strength that they now have in the Congress. But there are other things also at work that we need to attend to. So one of the things that goes largely unremarked upon is the fact that in the apportionment of congressional districts, illegal aliens are included in the population count that goes into allocating. So we have 435 congressional seats, and those congressional seats are assigned based on population nationwide, based on every 10 years the United States government conducts a census. And in some parts of the country, let's take California and Los Angeles in particular, in Los Angeles County, probably half of the people that live there are illegal aliens. And if you include illegal aliens in the population count, then Los Angeles gets disproportionately more congressional representation than a city somewhere else that's 100% or close to 100% U.S. citizens. And and you can go down the list, Illinois, New York, New Jersey. A lot of these most obnoxious blue states are the states that have the most illegal aliens and that are the most solicitous of illegal aliens by creating sanctuary status, etc. Why are they doing this? Even though it costs the taxpayers a lot of money to fund all their programs and fraud, well, they do it because it enhances their political power and goes to maintaining the power of their machine, and the power of their machine is the only thing that Democrats are concerned about. Now, President Trump in his first term tried to get this census, which I think is part of the Department of Commerce, to ask, are you an illegal alien or not? And so that for purposes of apportionment, the illegal aliens could be excluded. And if illegal aliens were excluded from allocating these congressional seats, the number of seats held by these blue states like California, Illinois, New York would shrink. And
by probably 10, 15, 20, right?
A lot.
Yeah.
And those seats don't just disappear. Those seats would show up
in red states.
In red states. So we shouldn't have close elections. So everybody says, we're in a political tie in America. We're not in a political tie. I think the American public overwhelmingly rejects these radical policies that are getting worse and worse every day by the Democrats. And if we had fair elections with reasonable rules, the Republicans would win in a landslide. So getting rid of illegal aliens in the population count is one. The other is allowing illegal aliens to register to vote and to vote. And the Democrats traditionally said, well, that doesn't happen. It couldn't happen. It's impossible. Well, just this last week in New Jersey, the governor of New Jersey had to admit that, somehow, a lot of them were registered to vote, and we acknowledge that significant thousands of them
6,600
actually voted. So this is not just something that's theoretically possible. It's happening, and it shouldn't be happening.
But the lefty governor said, it was just a glitch in the software system. And the software vendor, by the way, a French company, no, this was what you told us to do.
And this is why we need the SAVE Act. The other thing that contributes to Democrats having this political power they don't deserve and haven't earned, and it amounts to cheating, is when states want to send mail-in ballot applications to everybody. Once you do that, you've introduced something that's so prone to fraud, impossible to police, particularly when you allow third parties to collect and submit these, that's called bundling the ballots. That is just an invitation for fraud. That would be banned by the SAVE Act. And so, the midterm election is going to be critically important in the short run and in the long run. And I think you could say that this midterm election presents an existential threat to the survival of the republic. If the Democrats are able to gain control of Congress and thwart the remainder of President Trump's term, it could, and particularly if they win the White House in 2028, we're back under Joe Biden, and Joe Biden drove us to literally the brink of the abyss. And so I think people out there in the heartland need to be looking at the SAVE Act and the Republican majority in the Senate and asking, why aren't they passing it? And it's because they're cowardly. It's because they are under the influence of establishment.
Are you listening, John Thune? Keep rolling. Keep rolling.
And so, to paraphrase the title of JFK's Pulitzer Prize-winning book, widely believed to have been written by his aide and speechwriter Ted Sorensen, John Thune is a profile in cowardice. And that if they don't pass this, the Senate leadership, and especially Majority Leader John Thune, will be remembered in history as colossal, pathetic disappointments. And you have to wonder, is that the legacy that the Republican leadership is shooting for? And
see, here's the thing. They haven't got the memo about the change in America. They're thinking it's the olden days.
Yeah.
They're ossified.
Yeah.
They don't have courage.
Yeah. And the American public doesn't have the tolerance for this anymore.
When we come back, because you are en fuego today, Mark Pulliam. En fuego. Now we're going to go after the judicial insurrection of all those Obama-Biden appointees.
And some
who hate
Clinton
America.
ones, too.
Yeah, and Clinton, too. Back with Mark Pulliam after this.
Folks, this is Crom Carmichael, CEO of Solti. I have recently turned 77 years old. I do not take prescription drugs. I have not had to take prescription drugs, and I attribute a lot of my good health to a product that I've been taking, which is the active ingredient in Solti. It's a 22% concentration of theaflavin. We did clinical trials on it 25 years ago and found that it helped lower cholesterol. We have had many, many hundreds of letters and emails from customers telling us how it has helped them not only manage their cholesterol, but lower their triglycerides and help them on their blood pressure. And I can't tell you how much I attribute to Solti for my good health at age 77. And I encourage you to go to GodzillaHeart.com. That's GodzillaHeart.com. And use the code Godzilla at checkout, and you'll get a 50% off on your initial shipment of Solti. And I promise you it will be a great help for your heart health. Thanks so much.
And they're off. This summer, the Thunder returns to Colonial Downs Racetrack. Live thoroughbred racing June 25th through September 7th. Feel the excitement. Hear the roar of the crowd. Experience Virginia's premier horse racing destination every Thursday through Sunday all summer long. Bring the whole family for Family Fun Sundays, packed with activities for all ages. Parking, free. General admission, free. Memories, priceless. Make Colonial Downs Racetrack your new summer fun time tradition. Get tickets and race day info now at colonialdowns.com.
When you're learning something new, experience matters. At Lifestyles Unlimited, we've spent over 30 years teaching people how real estate investing works and how to build income with a clear, step-by-step strategy. Our program is designed to help you learn what to do, why it works, and how to take action at your own pace. Join today for just $297, a 60% savings off the regular price. Text radio to 88007. That's RADIO to 88007. Presented by Lifestyles Unlimited.
The Trump administration has brought positive changes when it comes to fixing our broken healthcare system. If we really want to make America healthy again, well, that starts at home. And that's where the Wellness Company comes in. You see and hear from the Wellness Company doctors all the time, and you know their products are the gold standard for keeping you and your family safe and healthy, giving you the opportunity to make sure you're prepared for whatever happens with their prescription medical kits. Additionally, the Wellness Company offers a variety of products, from parasite cleanses to methylene blue to weight loss and so much more. Make America healthy again starts at home. Do your part and protect the health of you and your family. Live a healthier, longer, and more satisfying life. Go to twc.health/Godzilla and order. That's twc.health/Godzilla. Use promo code Godzilla to save 10% today.
250 years ago, following an extraordinary victory that shook the globe, these newly forged Americans walked off the battlefield to create something unique in the world. A government that values individual liberty and justice. A system of laws built on limiting power and holding the mighty to account. They were young, they were bold, and together they wrote a document that changed everything. That document still stands, and 250 years later, the question remains, can we keep it? This October in Brentwood, Tennessee, students in grades 8 through 12 have a chance to answer that question and compete for a $10,000 Grand Champion Education Scholarship. More than $17,000 in education scholarships will be awarded in all. The 2026 National Constitution Bee, Saturday, October 24th, Spring Hill Suites, Marriott, Brentwood, Tennessee. Register now at nationalconstitutionbee.org. That's nationalconstitutionbee.org.
Only one. There is only one conservative running for State House District 65, and that's Lee Reeves. Lee Reeves is the only one who has fought to protect the unborn and defend the sanctity of life. That's why Lee Reeves has the endorsement of Tennessee Right to Life. Lee Reeves is the only one who has fought to secure your Second Amendment rights, earning the endorsement and an A+ rating from the NRA. And Lee Reeves is the only one who has fought against illegal immigration, standing firm to secure our border and protect Tennessee families. Only one conservative has delivered for District 65, securing funding for Williamson County and the Mac Hatcher expansion. That's why Mayors Rogers Anderson and Ken Moore and State Senator Jack Johnson endorse Lee Reeves. There's only one conservative for State House, and that conservative is Lee Reeves. Paid for by Lee Reeves for State House, Bev Berger, Treasurer.
Hi, this is Williamson County State Senator Jack Johnson. I'd like to invite you to join me for my annual Boots and Jeans Barbecue and Beans. It's this Sunday, August 2nd at 4 o'clock, Liberty Hall at the Factory in Franklin. It's going to be a great night of barbecue, fellowship, and celebrating the conservative values that make Tennessee the best place to call home. I'm honored to be joined by an incredible lineup of conservative leaders, including Governor Bill Lee, Senator Marsha Blackburn, Congressman Tim Burchett, Knox County Mayor Glenn Jacobs, Lieutenant Governor Randy McNally, and Senator Brent Taylor. Whether you've attended before or this will be your first time, we'd love to have you join us. Bring your family, invite your friends, and come spend an afternoon with fellow conservatives from across Tennessee. Tickets are $50. Get yours today at johnsonfortennessee.com. That's johnsonfortennessee.com. I look forward to seeing you this Sunday at my annual Boots and Jeans Barbecue and Beans.
Paid for by Johnson for State Senate, Tommy Nelms, Treasurer.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Bringing the heat. The best legal analyst in the country, bar none. The one, the only, Mark Pulliam, here in studio. Okay, judicial insurrection continues among the Biden / Obama / Bill Clinton lefties in the federal judiciary. Tell us about it.
So 2 things happened this past week that both illustrate that the judicial insurrection continues over immigration. And what this forces you to realize is the Democratic Party today is not the Bill Clinton Democratic Party. He was a border hawk. It's not the Democratic Party of Barack Obama, who deported a record number of people and awarded Tom Homan a prize for being so effective in deporting illegal aliens. We're now in a regime where the Democratic Party celebrates and exalts illegal immigration. Mm-hmm. And it's the top of their policy agenda is to prevent deportation or even the enforcement of immigration laws. So the first example is you could ask the question, can federal district judges grant habeas corpus relief to prevent the deportation of illegal aliens who have been...
Hold on now. Tell everybody what habeas corpus relief means.
Okay, so it's a federal writ that judges can issue that forces whoever's holding somebody into custody to release them, free the body.
So, yeah, free the habeas corpus, Latin, free the body.
Yeah.
Right?
And this has been around for a long time. And so the question is, can litigants go into court, can the ACLU and these other left-wing groups go into court and spring illegal aliens who've been apprehended by ICE who are headed for deportation? Well, Congress realized long ago that you cannot enforce a set of immigration laws if the judges, the Article 3 judges, are going to be monkeying around with this. So they passed a statute that specifically said judges do not have a role in evaluating the apprehension of these illegal aliens bound for deportation, and specifically saying that no court shall have jurisdiction by habeas corpus or any other habeas corpus provision to review such an order either as a question of law or fact. So Congress could not have been clearer that district court judges basically don't get to play in the sandbox of deporting illegal aliens by using the tool of habeas corpus. Now, 2 of the courts of appeal, the 2nd and the 3rd, both up in the Northeast, have held that statute, and this isn't something that Trump did by executive order. This is a statute passed bipartisan by Congress, that statute prevents district courts from collateral attacks on deportation proceedings. Last week, however, the Fourth Circuit has waded in and reached a different conclusion, which creates a circuit split. The thing that the Supreme Court looks at to determine which cases to grant review of, and they grant a review to an exceedingly small percentage of cases seeking review.
Less than 1%.
Like that. Is there a split in the circuits? Well, now we have a split in the circuits. So this case was called Surrey v. Trump, and a foreign national who held a J-1 exchange visa who was supporting terrorism by promoting pro-Hamas activism while he's supposedly teaching or studying or doing whatever it is that he does here. They rounded him up as part of a Trump administration initiative, is that we're going to get rid of people who don't have a legal right to be here who are promoting terrorism. So they rounded him up, and his lawyers, and of course he has a huge team of lawyers, filed a petition for habeas corpus, and the judge, so the Trump administration tried to get that habeas corpus petition dismissed on the grounds that you don't have any jurisdiction. The court refused to dismiss it, went up on appeal. The Fourth Circuit, 2-1, said the district court can entertain the habeas petition. Harvey Wilkinson, who has been on the court a very long time, was considered the Supreme Court material at some point in the past, and he's kind of like an establishment Republican, but he hasn't gone south like Michael Ludwig has. And so he wrote a very passionate dissent saying, wait a minute, you guys, you're shredding this Immigration and Naturalization Act. You're defying Congress. You're throwing a wrench in the works, and you can't do that. It's an insult to the rule of law. And court watcher Ed Whalen, who writes for National Review Online, predicts that the Supreme Court will reverse the Fourth Circuit, and I happen to agree with him, Democrat judges continue to show an insolent disrespect for the law and an impudent defiance of the executive branch, as well as Congress. SCOTUS is going to have to start smacking down these rogue judges. Now, fortunately, that case got flagged with a dissent. When you see a judge dissenting like that, he's like waving his arm saying, Supreme Court,
come look at this.
Come look at this.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes the Supreme Court has looked at something, and the defiant rogue judges continue to
We get a lot of that. Yeah.
Okay, and that's our second topic, is this involves a temporary protected status. And my headline for this is Defiant TPS Rulings Continue Despite Clear SCOTUS Decision. So just last month, the Supreme Court issued a decision, Mullen v. Doe, that said the statute that Congress passed that created this temporary protected status gives unfettered and absolute discretion to the president to decide which countries deserve TPS status because they've had an earthquake, a natural disaster, some other kind of emergency. We need to let people come to the United States temporarily until the situation gets resolved in their country.
Temporarily. Wink, wink.
And the same statute gives the president absolute and unfettered discretion to discontinue TPS status if and when the president decides that it's no longer necessary. So Biden had granted TPS status to basically every third world country in the world.
If it's a blank hole, he gave him TPS.
Yeah. And so President Trump has been winding that back, and and the courts have been saying, no, you can't do that. Well, even after this decision, Mullen v. Doe
came in, and basically the Supreme Court, the final authority, says the president can end it anytime he wants to. These lower-level judges, all appointed by lefties, these lower-level judges are saying, you know what, we are not bound by Supreme Court precedent.
Well, they don't even address that. They just ignore it. They just pretend like it didn't happen.
They pretend it didn't happen,
So last week, Democrat-appointed district judges, most of them are in Boston. So one of them was Biden-appointed Brian Murphy, who's gotten into trouble with the Supreme Court before. He stayed indefinitely the termination of TPS status for Ethiopia, even though he had no legal authority to do so. The DHS General Counsel James Percival called this a judicial mutiny.
No, that's exactly what it is.
And the Biden administration had allowed more than 5,000 Ethiopians to enter the U.S. And so this group that brought this litigation consists of Muslim advocates, Haitian Bridge Alliance.
I'm shocked.
Covington and Burling, like the ultimate Washington, D.C. white shoe law firm.
Do you understand why you are so, you such a unique voice?
Because I'll name names.
But also, these are all your, former big law pals.
Yeah.
They're almost all gone lefty.
They were never my pals.
Well, I know, but you were stuck in big law.
Yeah. And so it wasn't just Brian Murphy. This woman, Patty Saris, who was appointed by Bill Clinton, she's also in Boston, granted an administrative stay in African Communities Together v. Mullen, preserving TPS protections for South Sudanese nationals, even though the Trump administration had withdrawn TPS status. And then another Boston-based district judge is doing the same thing for Somalia. So you've got the entire federal bench in Boston basically saying, we don't care what the Supreme Court says, we're going to do whatever we want. These judges should be charged with misconduct. They should be impeached. The judges or the lawyers who are bringing these cases in clear defiance. So this isn't like John Eastman, who was zealously advocating in an area where there wasn't any clear case law or any clear precedent. These people are obstructing the enforcement of Supreme Court decisions. The lawyers involved in these cases, they should be cited for misconduct. They should be disbarred, and Congress should impeach these miscreant judges. So the Constitution says Article 3 judges serve during good behavior, which has been interpreted to mean for life.
Except you could argue that if you defy a Supreme Court precedent, that's not good behavior.
How can it be good behavior? That you are subordinate to the Supreme Court. When you refuse to follow the rules, you are not acting in good behavior. So I'd say it's an open and shut case. Congress, you should impeach the entire Boston District Court judges
Absolutely.
today.
Bringing the heat. The best legal analyst in the country, Mark Pulliam. We got more. Stick around, folks. You don't want to miss this. Back with the Michael Patrick Leahy Show after this.
Ponder this. I've recently noticed that the way a person drives may have a direct correlation to their personality. I'm pretty confident that most of you have witnessed this as well. We see courteous drivers. These are people who allow others to change lanes when safety permits. Courteous drivers usually use their turn signals to gesture to others their intentions. They stop at red lights and pay attention when waiting for a red light to go green. There are other drivers who are not so courteous, even aggressive, and get defensive when others try to change lanes. These drivers tend to get angry at others to the point of road rage. What does your driving signal to others? Do you show love and kindness to fellow drivers as the Lord would want you to do? Or do you lose control and take your anger out on others? We are called to be charitable to others even when they don't extend charity to us. I'm Susie Kelly, and I am passionately Catholic.
This is Crom Carmichael, CEO of Solti. We got a wonderful email from one of our customers up east named Joe, and here's what he had to say. I started taking Solti almost out of desperation with little hope because I was resigned to the futility that although I was up to taking 2 statins a day, high cholesterol was something I just had to learn to live with. In fact, when I turned 60, after taking a stress cardio test, my doctor called me on a Saturday, which of course is never a good sign, and told me that I was clogged more than 95% of the people my age. I had an angioplasty and a stent procedure done at that time. Today, my stubborn triglycerides are only 1/3 of what they had been before starting taking Solti. My prescription statin dosage has shrunk from 60 milligrams to only 10 milligrams a day. My primary care doctor that I have had for many years still can't believe the results, and neither can I. Thank you, Solti, for providing such a wonderful product. And folks, I want to invite you to take care of your heart also by going to GodzillaHeart.com. That's GodzillaHeart.com. Use the code Godzilla at checkout, and you'll get a 50% discount on your initial shipment. Thanks so much.
Everybody's talking about weight loss injections because the results are so dramatic. They work by lowering blood sugar and reducing appetite. So, what if you're looking to lose weight but not interested in painful weekly injections, especially when you hear about some of those intense side effects? That's why doctors created a weight loss supplement called Lean, and the results are remarkable. The ingredients studied in Lean have been shown to lower your blood sugar, burn fat by converting it into energy, and curb your appetite and cravings, so you're not as hungry. But listen, Lean is not for the casual dieter with only a few pounds to lose. The doctors at Brickhouse Nutrition created Lean for frustrated dieters with 10 or more pounds to lose. Get started with 20% off and free rush shipping so you can add Lean to your healthy diet and exercise plan. Go to takelean.com and enter the code Godzilla for your discount. That's discount code Godzilla at takelean.com.
I'm Brent Taylor, and I approve this message.
Brent Taylor has my complete and total endorsement. Those are the words of President Trump announcing his endorsement of Brent Taylor for Congress. President Trump can count on Brent Taylor to support the American First agenda, fighting inflation, cutting spending, deporting illegal immigrants, and protecting our conservative values. President Trump endorsed Brent Taylor for Congress. Now he needs your vote. Paid for by Brent Taylor for Tennessee. Johnny Garrett's not some out-of-touch D.C. politician. Johnny Garrett's a Tennessean, a Christian conservative, and a proud father of 3 who's sick of the far left ruining our country with their radical policies. Conservative Johnny Garrett is proudly pro-life, pro-Trump to his core, and will always put America first. In Congress, Garrett will fight to lower taxes, cut government waste, and will always back the blue and support law and order. Garrett's fought for us in Nashville, and that's what he'll do in Congress. No to biological boys playing girl sports. No to communist China buying our farmland. And no to criminal illegals invading our state. Because with Johnny Garrett, what you see is what you get. It's time to bring more Tennessee to D.C. Send Trump conservative Johnny Garrett to Congress.
I'm Johnny Garrett, candidate for Congress, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Johnny Garrett for Congress.
Welcome back to the Michael Patrick Leahy Show. Now, here's Michael Patrick Leahy.
Our guest, the great legal analyst, Mark Pulliam. Mark, you gave me a gift, this book, The Supreme Court by William Rehnquist. I'm going to give you a gift. You've been talking about how terrible, awful, rotten so many of the Biden judges, the Obama judges are. Here's a gavel for a judge. And I think, Mark, we've talked about this before, although you are retired from the practice of law, I think the country needs Judge Mark Pulliam. No, you got to use your right hand, not your left hand. Go ahead. Let's order in the court.
Yeah.
There we go. Order in the court. Soon to be Judge Mark Pulliam, who's going to set the left straight. Okay, I got to say this also, Mark. Did you follow this? The guy who founded SCOTUS Blog, Thomas Goldstein, who successfully argued 40 cases before the Supreme Court. I don't know if he won all of them, but he won most of them. He was a weirdo gambler, didn't report income he made gambling, had multiple, shall we say, close personal relationships with showgirls or whatever that weren't his wife. They caught him. And he was sentenced to prison for tax evasion, 6 years. Your thoughts on Thomas Goldstein? He's 56. He retired, 4 years ago at age 52. Now he's going to spend the next 6 years in prison.
Well, I think it's good that he was held accountable for an egregious violation of the law. I personally think that he got sort of kid glove treatment just because he's a fancy lawyer in Washington, D.C. If the average citizen engaged in tax evasion at the seven-figure level.
It was millions. It was like 7-8 million.
Yeah, they wouldn't be getting 6 years. They'd be getting a longer sentence than that. So, but I'm glad there was some justice administered. And speaking of justice being administered, we're watching in Utah Tyler Robinson's prosecution move as slow as cold molasses. So in the last couple of weeks, they wrapped up a 5-day preliminary hearing, which, in criminal law, you can either be indicted by a grand jury or a judge can determine after a preliminary hearing that there's probable cause to hold you.
Tyler Robinson, by the way, accused of murdering Charlie Kirk.
Right. And not just accused. I mean, everybody's entitled to a presumption of innocence, but this is not a close case. That I would say that there is no criminal suspect that has ever been caught with such abundant evidence of their guilt since Jack Ruby shot Lee Harvey Oswald on live TV.
Mm-hmm.
And so, we have forensics, we have ballistics, we have DNA, we have all this video surveillance, we have a confession. He confessed to his friends and his transgender lover. His parents turned him in because they thought, okay, well, he's done it and we're going to turn him in. So anyway, just to keep the timeline, Charlie Kirk was assassinated on September 19th, 2025. That's about 10 months ago. And just now has this preliminary hearing taken place to determine if there's probable cause to hold him for trial. But the judge did not rule at the end of this preliminary hearing whether or not there's probable cause. He has set a briefing schedule, and there's going to be additional oral argument. And this is not going to take place until September 1, which is almost a year after the crime was committed, to determine if there's probable cause to hold him over. And it could be another year or 2 years before we have a trial. In the meantime, his court-appointed lawyers at taxpayer expense are running up a huge tab. The New York Post reports that Utah taxpayers could end up shelling out more than a mind-boggling $10 million for Tyler Robinson's lawyers to defend him. I say the more they drag this out, the more frivolous motions they can file. They may be trying to wear the prosecution out, wear the taxpayers out, try to get some kind of a plea bargain deal that will, eliminate the possibility of the death penalty. But this is the most absurd criminal case I've ever seen in my life. He should have been tried, convicted, and well on his way to lethal injection already. Now, people would say, well, that's hyperbole, that's crazy talk. But let me give you an example. So back in the 1930s, the most sensational crime that happened in the United States was the kidnapping of the Lindbergh baby, Charles Lindbergh's infant son. And it grabbed the public imagination, just like the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And they tried him and convicted him and executed him in a very short time frame, within a couple of years of the crime. We should still be doing that.
One of the differences, that was New Jersey, I think. And this is Utah, which is got a little weird, different criminal justice tradition.
And I think we've just gotten hidebound with undue process.
Oh, good line to close the show on. Mark Pulliam, the best legal analyst in the country, likely a future judge. The one, the only Mark Pulliam. Thanks for joining us today, Mark.
Thank you.
Rob Carson up next. I'll be here tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern. I'm Michael Patrick Leahy. The website, TennesseeStar.com. Thanks for joining us.
The Cats and Cosby Show.
It's the top news of the day.
People are out there saying, the Iranians are never going to live by it. But let me tell you something. President Trump is going to bomb them again if they screw around.
Hopefully they live up to it. And if not, the pounding's coming. We're going to do it again and again and again.
The Cats and Cosby Show, weekdays 5 Eastern, 4 Central on the stations of the John Fredericks Media Network.
Trump is a